Tonight, Parliament declares Kpandai seat vacant, rendering former MP Matthew Nyindam a persona non grata following the expiration of the Speaker's Moratorium, which ends weeks of intense political wrangling between the majority and the minority.
So the Honorable Nyindam is now a persona non grata. I pray that he must even be marched out of the chamber.
Let us not, for whatever convenience, attempt to frustrate others. Mr. Speaker.
We have all the angles covered here on Top Story, brought to you always by Telecel, Connecting Energies, also by Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil. Enjoy a holy sleep, and by Shield Pension Trust into the future with you. Well, tonight, the Kpandai seat has fallen. The MP for the constituency, Matthew Nyindam, has been ousted as Parliament formally declares his seat vacant, ending weeks of political wrangling between the majority and the minority. This follows a 24th November ruling by the Tamale High Court, which ordered a rerun of the Kpandai elections, a decision the majority has repeatedly pressed the Speaker to enforce, even going as far as describing the MPP's Matthew Nyindam as a persona non grata in the House. Listen to the Chief Whip of the majority.
As the Honorable Member for Kpandai was flawed, and therefore that election has been ordered to be rerun, Mr. Speaker, ipso facto, the Honorable Nyindam is no longer a member of this House. He's not. It's not. So hear me. So that you can respond. So by operation of law, is no longer a member of this House with a voice. That's number one. That's number one. That's number one. That's number one. Number two, Mr. Speaker, we have received the court orders and received proof of service. The orders of the court has been duly served on Parliament. It was served yesterday. Speaker, it will serve the minority to listen to me in silence. I have a copy of the proof of service of the orders of the Tamale High Court dated yesterday, 24th of November, and served on Parliament. If it's minded to appeal the decision of the High Court, it is right, and he has done so. But it is tried that mere filing of an appeal does not operate as a stay of execution of the court's orders. Mr. Speaker, further, Mr. Speaker, I'm not raising this matter whimsically because precedents will guide us. Mr. Speaker, when the Honorable Gyasi was ordered by the court that he should go through re-election, rerun of his elections, members of this side at the time, mainly led by the now minority leader, spoke vociferously against the fact that the Honorable Gyasi cannot be entertained in this House. The issue was raised by Professor Kinslinyaku. He used to sit here, and that matter caught fire on this floor. Eventually, the Honorable Gyasi had to leave. By all means, you can hold your press conferences outside and say things against the judiciary. We won't do that. We will observe the orders of the court. If you are minded, the tournament for doing so is in the courtroom. So the Honorable Nyindam is now a persona non grata on this floor and to the presence of this parliament as a member of parliament. The court says he must go back and go through the processes. If he's duly re-elected, he can come back. But for now, he cannot. So I won't belabor the point. Speaker, on this basis, on the totality of my submission, I pray that he must even be marched out of the chamber by precedent. I am not saying so. Precedent set by this side when they were here.
So that is the chief whip, or was him, on the floor on the day, or just few days after the seat was declared. The election was declared null and asked that it had to be rerun by the Tamale High Court. But the minority, however, insisted the Speaker had no such authority, while fresh legal processes, including an appeal and applications for a stay of execution, were still before the court.
I want him to bring Hansard with proof that first deputy speaker or your good self, who was the second deputy speaker in the 8th parliament, ordered Mr. Gyasi out of this chamber because there was a high court order. I am aware that the matter came up, but no such order was directed, because I also remember that your side argued that he had filed a stay of execution pending the hearing of his appeal. They intimidate, insinuate, and act up. When they are getting the same taste, a bite of their actions, then they are crying. If they don't have the energy, they should be quiet and listen. After all, I've been here, this is my 4th term. Mr. Speaker, we are not here with manpower. We are not doing a macho business in this chamber. So, we'll be told that a certain 189 has the macho power to move Honorable Nyindam out. No. No. Mr. Speaker, let us not, for whatever convenience, attempt to frustrate others. Mr. Speaker, we know of what happened on election night, where members on this side who had won their elections through machoism and attacks were denied their votes. We know what we've all gone through. So is this nation today encouraging violence, machoism as a way to move our democracy forward? I beg to say no. So, Mr. Speaker, this debating chamber must not metamorphose into a constitutional chamber. We should not attempt to advance a constitutional argument and make a constitutional determination where we know that there's another chamber responsible for that. Today it may be Nyindam.
Well, so that was the minority leader there. But tonight we've cited a letter from Parliament communicating the vacancy, in the House, and therefore the Electoral Commission should do what is legally required of it in terms of filing or filling that particular vacancy. My colleague James Aveji joins me in studio with details of that particular transmission from the clerk to the Electoral Commission. James, what exactly is the clerk saying to EC?
Well, Bray, so this letter is dated the 4th of December 2025, and as you said, is directed to chairperson of the Electoral Commission under the heading Occurrence of Vacancy in the Membership of Parliament. And the details say that in exercise of the power conferred and the duty imposed on the clerk to Parliament by Article 1125 as amended of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, as amended, I Ebenezer Ahuma Jethro, the clerk to Parliament, do hereby formally notify you of the occurrence of a vacancy in the membership for Parliament, occasioned by the order of the High Court Tamale for a rerun of the Kpandai parliamentary elections given on the 24th day of November 2025. This notification is pursuant to the service of a court order on the clerk to Parliament as the fourth respondent of the suit number quoted the suit number. Accordingly, notice is hereby given, and this is signed by the clerk to Parliament, Ebenezer Ahuma Jethro. So, per this, what we know is that Parliament has officially declared the Kpandai seat vacant, and it now beholds the EC to set a date for a rerun of this particular election, as we are seeing now in this letter that has just surfaced some few minutes ago from Parliament communicating to the Electoral Commission.
This is Top Story, brought to you by Telecel, holding insecticide spray and coil, and by Shield Pension Trust into the future with you. Now, we've been joined on the line by MP for Mensah South, Nana J. Bafwe, and I'm grateful to you for joining us. This must be shocking to you.
I'm very surprised, extremely surprised, because of the Speaker's ruling last week. I'm so surprised because I'm aware that a motion for stay of execution has been filed and same has been served on the clerk to Parliament. I'm also aware that there is also a motion for certiorari which was filed at the Supreme Court. Now, having filed all these processes, particularly the motion for stay of execution, which constitutes a stay of execution pending the determination of the application. It looks like someone wants to beat all the legal processes. And, you know, it's very, very surprising. I don't know why the haste. You know, I'm utterly surprised.
But I mean, it's challenging because people are wondering, is it the fact that appeal on the judgment was indeed filed?
That appeal on the judgment is what?
I mean, they are appealing against the Tamale High Court judgment. Was it indeed filed? Because people are of the view that if it was filed, why are we where we are? And that's what we want to find out from you.
The question should rather be,
okay,
has the Speaker, the Clerk of Parliament, been served with the appeal, with the motion for stay of execution?
We've not heard from him on that regard.
There is no dispute about that. He has been served.
You know for sure that he has been served.
It was in, you know, it came up in Parliament. And so I'll be surprised if he has not been served. Okay. What would be the use of filing a motion of stay of execution and not serving the relevant authorities, in this case, bringing it to the attention of the Speaker? You see, the Parliament was not a party to the suit.
Yes.
And so Parliament can only have notice of the pending processes. And so if the Clerk of Parliament is notified of the pendency of the process, it's sufficient. It's sufficient. So I would be very surprised if the Clerk of Parliament has not been notified. Then the filing of the process, very respectfully, may not have been of, useful value. But I have a strong belief that the clerk of parliament has been served, has been notified.
Well, but the filing of a stay of execution, does it in itself constitute a stay?
It constitutes a stay of execution.
When the court has not granted it?
When the court hasn't granted it. You see, there are three types of stay of execution. There is the stay of execution, which is what we call the statutory stay. That is the rules of court after a decision has been made, which is executable. You have a 7-day cooling off period. That 7-day cooling off period, it is anticipated that if you wish to appeal and file a motion for stay, you will do it within that period. If you don't do it within that period, then your back is opened for an attack. That is for the order or judgment to be enforced. Then you have the stay of execution, which would arise because of the pendency of the application, which stems from practice. The practice is that pending the determination of that application, there is a stay. Reason being that unless that order is stayed and you go into enforcement, right, the application itself will become moot. And so pending the determination of the application, the execution of the order or the enforcement of the order is stayed. Right? And then there is the order for stay of execution. That is the consequence of the determination of the application. And so following the determination of the application, the court then makes an order for stay of execution. There are three types. Now, when there is such an application pending and notice of it has been brought to the attention of the clerk, I believe, right, should not be taking any step, because the Justice Administration of Ghana rests on three parameters: the law itself, the rules of practice, the rules of practice and procedure, and judicial precedent. And so very much the Constitution, covers these. And so even if you have a constitutional right or constitutional duty to perform under the Constitution, and notice of stay of execution of that constitutional duty, right, notice of stay of execution, right, from which that, based on which the constitutional duty is being performed, I believe that it is only proper that you stay pending the outcome of the determination of the application.
Well, once the clerk has written to the Electoral Commission, what remedy is available to your colleague, Matthew Nyindam, as well as
I
your party?
believe that his recourse rests with a court order. His recourse rests with a court order, because the EC is now seized with the performance of a constitutional duty. In the absence of a court order, they are constrained. And so I hope that the court will expedite the processes before them.
The application, as we know, was supposed to be moved on the 16th day of December 2025. In that space, if the court doesn't give an order, it means the EC will go ahead and conduct that rerun, right?
If the 16th of December, that is, if the rerun will be done before the 16th of December, I doubt
it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. But I'm asking, if the court doesn't give orders on the 16th day of December, the EC can go ahead and conduct.
The EC will be constrained by a constitutional duty to proceed.
Okay, but from your knowledge of the law, what do you see happening on Tuesday, the 16th of December, when this particular application is moved?
Historically, courts are reluctant to stay execution of their own decision. Courts are reluctant. And so it may well seem that the prospects that the courts may grant it, the prospects are low. That said, the court may equally take cognizance of the tendency of the motion for certiorari at the Supreme Court and say that it would want the outcome, right? It would want to hold on with the application until the Supreme Court application is determined. Don't forget, what is before the Supreme Court is the motion for certiorari. Because it is a motion for certiorari, if it is determined positively in favor of my colleague, Mr. Nyindam, the effect of it will be that the judgment never exists, or the judgment was never made. It will be quashed. And so what the judge may do will be to say that he's not taking any step until the certiorari application is determined. I suspect that is why the Speaker has taken the step that he has taken.
The clerk?
The clerk will work under the instructions of the Speaker.
Okay.
I suspect that is why they have done what they have done today. They want to pull the rug off the feet of the Supreme Court.
So, but is there an opening for Matthew Nyindam to probably still stay this particular decision by the clerk? Is there anything like that?
The Supreme Court out. Yes, he can file. He can file a process. That possibly may injunct he may injunct the EC. He can file a process that possibly may injunct the EC.
What would be the strategy of your side tomorrow? Because per this letter, it means that tomorrow Matthew Nyindam is not supposed to be in the house.
I can't disclose it on air. I can't, because obviously we are not up against fair arbiters. We are not up against fair arbiters. And so we can't put strategies on air.
Well, quite an interesting issue we have on hands here. Okay, well, we must be grateful to you for the education you've given us today. Where you stand and the matters that are coming up, if the Supreme Court doesn't stay or Matthew Nyindam doesn't file an injunction, he's a goner, per the explanation you've given.
Yes. So it's very interesting. Unless there's now the matter is in the court, the ball is in the court of the Electoral Commission. Unless there is an order of the court, nothing will stop the EC but move on. The only order I foresee happening in the scheme of things will be an injunction. But think about this. This is where the challenge really is. An injunction to injunct who? The EC, the clerk has already notified the EC of vacancy of a seat in Parliament. And so the horse has already bolted. An injunction is granted, or an injunctive order is made to stop the performance of any act, or to stop the performance of any act that may result in an injury to a person. Now that the Speaker has already declared the seat vacant, right? If the court grants an injunction, it may grant an injunction, or it may make an order for injunction to stop the EC from going ahead to organize the election, right? Meanwhile, the seat has been declared vacant by the Speaker. And so we have a serious constitutional crisis on our hands. Meanwhile, there's a pending application for certiorari at the Supreme Court. And so what happens if the certiorari application is granted? If it is granted, the Speaker has already declared the seat vacant. And so the Supreme Court, upon questioning the judgment, if the Supreme Court questions the judgment, it may have to make a consequential order saying that the seat is not vacant. The Constitution, however, vests the power to declare as whether or not a seat is vacant in the hands of the Speaker. And so we have quite a crisis on our hands. The matters are unfolding. I think that a lot of the matters will become clear in the coming days.
Okay. I'm grateful to you, Nana J. Bafwewa, is MP for Mencha South. Let's bring in briefly Abraham Amalaba, Director of Conflict Resolution of the NDC. He is a member of their legal team as well. Grateful to you, sir, for joining. Now, there is a certiorari application that was supposed to be moved on the 16th day of December 2025 on this particular matter. What is the law behind Parliament going ahead to declare the seat vacant when this particular application is pending at the Supreme Court?
Say it again.
I'm just asking for an education of the law behind declaring the seat as vacant when there's a certiorari application on the same matter to be moved on the 16th day of December.
It depends on what has been served on Parliament. So, if what has been served on Parliament is what the plaintiffs said, if the judgment from the plaintiff is what has been served, or the petitioner is what has been served on Parliament, and then this certiorari application is not before Parliament, then there's nothing before Parliament that can stop Parliament from going ahead to do what it did. So it depends on what is before Parliament.
Parliament is an interested party in this certiorari application. So it's assumed that, because according to Nana, he knows that Parliament is aware of that. Should that have stayed Parliament's decision on this particular matter the way they have?
But also, the certiorari application does not tie the hands of Parliament, because that is not a stay of execution. And I don't know whether Parliament has been served with a stay of execution before the certiorari application. So if what has been served on Parliament is just the certiorari application, that cannot tie the hands of Parliament.
If the certiorari is granted, what happens?
Well, there isn't any seat available now, and so if the certiorari is granted, then it is a victory which cannot be enforced.
Okay. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining us here. Quite interesting days we had to experience in Parliament and in Ghana. This has been Top Story, brought to you by Telecel, Holding Insecticide Spray and Coil, and Shield Pension Trust. Up next is Newsnight.
Many thanks for joining us tonight. And utility tariff hikes backlash with the minority in Parliament and the Trades Union Congress demanding an immediate suspension of the implementation.
Reforms, they are punishment. They are not solutions. They are symptoms of failed leadership and poor policy choices. We call on the government to immediately halt these incessant increases.
We speak to experts and the Energy Ministry.
Also tonight, investigative journalist Manasseh Azuri Awuni refuses to return to the witness box in the revived corruption case against former PPA CEO A.B. Ejay, insisting the OSP is not interested in the case.
I am no longer interested in testifying in this case again because I had done that. You dropped the charges without any tangible reasons. You filed again, there's no single new charge or particulars of offense. Rather, a strong charge has been dropped.
Also tonight, there's growing frustration in Mankasim over Parliament's delay in ratifying the Eweya lithium lease as residents threaten massive demonstrations. We got details as traditional authorities struggle to hold tensions down. More in our series, Hope on Pause, the Lithium Promise. Coming up in business.
President John Mahama reveals government's plan to target Chinese investors to help with value addition of the country's exports.
In sports,
Black Stars assistant coach John Pinsel backs the team to progress from the FIFA World Cup group stages.
And a bit later, Ghana deploy troops to support Benin government in response to a foiled coup attempt, which has been widely condemned by ECOWAS and the African Union. We'll look into that issue later in the bulletin. These and many other stories coming up in the next 1 hour. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Pale Ofori.
Send us a WhatsApp with your thoughts and comments on 055 11 11 997. Details shortly.
You know how much moms always say too much of everything is bad? But there's one too much mom actually approves of. Telecell's too much broadband bundle. This festive season, all you have to do is buy the 150 Ghana cedis too much broadband bundle in addition to your main broadband plan and get 150% bonus data. That's right.
From December 1st to 31st, simply buy the 150 Ghana cedis Telecell too much bundle in addition to your main broadband plan and receive 150% bonus data. Dial *900#, use the Telecell Play app or visit the Telecell website to buy now.
Telecell, connecting energies.
From Lagos to London, from New York to Kingston, from Durban to Kolegono, everyone's coming to Ghana to taste the culture. On the 26th of December, Black Star Square becomes the heartbeat of the continent with Omale, Tiwa Savage, King Promise, Jackie, and more on stage. It's Taste the Culture, the Black Star Experience. #Taste the Culture is sponsored by Kivo, Bost Energies, and Goyle. Supported by New Gas, Soft Care, and GNPC. Visit www.tastetheculturegh.com for more details.
We asked Ghanaian business owners what they want from Old Mutual.
I want insurance and pension solutions that will protect my employees.
Your business growth is our business. For 180 years, we have partnered with businesses to protect and grow their most valuable assets. From tailored group life assurance protection to affordable pension plans, we've got your business and your employees covered. Contact your broker or call Old Mutual on 0509-551-609 today. Old Mutual, do great things every day.
Accra, Ghana! ACCRA! Here we go! GT Bank is back with the mega Proudly African GT concerts. And this year, we're taking it to a whole new level. Ghana, Niger, 2 countries, 1 stage, endless energy. Shatta Wale, Sarkodie, Ira Star, King Promise, Pato Ranking, R2Bs, Joe Boy, Fireboy. We're lighting up Friday, December 19th at the Accra Sports Stadium, and it's absolutely free. The biggest names in music with DJ Obi from Niger and DJ Viroski from Ghana on a hype thing. MC Darlington and Kojo Manuel. 7 p.m. Friday, December 19th, Accra Sports Stadium. The concert everyone's talking about. about the Proudly African GTCO Concert 2025. We dey lights up December, and it's absolutely free.
No matter where we are, Africa always calls us home. And here in Ghana, the call is clear: to power growth and create lasting impact. At Stanbic Corporate and Investment Banking, we are creating giants and connecting businesses. From financing bold energy projects to enabling cleaner, reliable power for industries, we are fueling Ghana's transformation. With our support, Gensa Energy is delivering sustainable energy that powers Goldfields operations, helping them move closer to cleaner, greener mining. This is a story of how we bring businesses together, create jobs, empower communities, and invest in the next generation. Stanbic Bank, delivering sustainable growth, creating impact. To learn more, visit stanbicbank.com.gh.
You're welcome back to Newsnight. In our first story tonight, the recent increase in utility tariffs has sparked outrage with the minority in Parliament and the Trades Union Congress, demanding an immediate suspension of the implementation. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, that's the PURC, announced a 15.9% increase in water tariffs and 9% for electricity, effective January 1, 2026.
And whilst the TUC fears the increment will worsen the economic situation of Ghanaians, the minority is questioning the reason behind the increment, citing positive trends in major factors influencing upward adjustments. Listen to member of the Energy Committee, Michael Edu, address journalists at a media engagement in Parliament earlier.
The time they were introducing the 1 cedi levy, one of the forceful arguments that they made was that our forex rate, the cedi depreciation, is part of the issues when it comes to calculation of tariffs. And because of the cedi depreciation, that's why we've incurred a lot of losses and so on. Apart from that, they don't have funds to buy fuel and all those things. So they are introducing 1 cedi levy to purchase fuel, and so that it will support the electricity sector, and then also use it to clear legacy debt. Today, we all know FX is down. So if FX as a component of the tariff, major component, is down, inflation, which is also a major component, is down, why are you increasing tariffs? Why? These are questions we believe that you, the media, and Ghanaians should ask them.
My colleague James Avaji covered that press conference and joins us with more. James, what does the minority, why rather, does the minority want this increment suspended?
Well, Pearl, the minority cited a number of reasons, starting from the commercial loss of the ECG, which they put at a figure around 80 to 90 million US dollars every month, which they think that need to be plugged. They then went on to indicate how, if this tariff is implemented, could have serious implication on both individuals and businesses. For instance, they make the point that this could erode the 9% base pay recently negotiated by the TUC, which we'll be hearing from shortly, and it could also result on high operational costs for businesses, and in the long run affect the employment situation we have as a country.
At a time when households are battling rising cost of living and businesses are struggling to stay afloat, government continues to impose burdensome tariffs without addressing the deep-rooted inefficiencies crippling our power sector. Technical losses, commercial losses, with the normal demand of about 3,500 megawatts and recent peak demand of 4,080 megawatts, 32% amounted to 1,120 megawatts and 1,305 megawatts. And if you quantify it at the price of 16 cents, as at March price, this year you get $80 to $90 million losses. Why does the government ignore this reality and instead impose measures that further impoverish Ghanaians. Instead of fixing the system, the government has chosen the lazy path of shifting its failures onto already sovereign consumers. This will completely wipe out the meager 9% wage adjustment for 2026. Consequences, if the government does not listen to the call to withdraw the tariff hikes, they are going to cause: 1, escalating utility poverty, leaving more families unable to afford basic electricity. 2, collapse of SMEs, which form the backbone of our economy due to unbearable operating costs. We are already experiencing a teeming unemployment youth in the country. Job losses as industries scale down or shut down operations. 4, reduced productivity and competitiveness, further weakening the economy. And then 5, heightened social and economic hardship, deepens the suffering of workers and households.
So, James, how do they intend to get the government to back down on its decision?
Well, Paul, there are a number of measures available to them, which could include that they would hold the PURC to Parliament to come and answer questions. Although they are not particular about which exact measure they would undertake, they said they would explore all of the tools available as they demand that government immediately suspend the implementation of this increment.
These tariff hikes are not reforms, they are punishment. They are not solutions, they are symptoms of failed leadership and poor policy choices. We call on the government to immediately halt these incessant increases. The minority stands firmly with Ghanaian workers, households, small businesses, and industries struggling to survive. We will continue to use every legitimate parliamentary tool to demand fairness, transparency, and accountability in the management of the nation's utilities. Our position remains firm and non-negotiable. These tariff hikes must be reversed immediately, and measures must be taken to protect consumers and sustain businesses. Ghanaians deserve relief, not repeated shocks. They deserve leadership, not exploitation. And we, as the minority caucus, we will continue to hold this government accountable and defend the rights of the people.
Well, the minority are not alone in this fight, because the largest labor group, the Trades Union Congress, is also demanding an immediate suspension. Secretary General Joshua Ansah describes the move as unfair, as they fear it will erode the freshly negotiated 9% base pay.
Following our meeting this afternoon, the TUC has resolved as follows. 1, in the spirit of fairness and mutual respect for our social partnership, we demand that government suspends the announced tariff increases. B, government and PURC should, as a matter of priority, immediately engage as agreed to exhaust the consultative process. Leadership of TUC wishes to assure Ghanaian workers that it will resist any tariff increases that would erode the mega 9% government wage adjustment unless government comes back to the negotiation table to top up the 2026 wage adjustment.
So that's the Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, Joshua Ansah. He's also been warning that government's failure to suspend the move will compel them to advise themselves and their members.
Whatever decision that has been made, whether we have a rep there or not, we think that the decision is not good for Ghanaian workers, and we have to speak against it. Thank you very much. Done. We are not going to propose anything. Our priority is not even in the top-up. Our priority is in the withdrawal of the tariff, because it is not in our interest.
Right, let's go onto the telephone lines right now and have a conversation on the back of this. Joining us is Lomnuku Aheja, who's an energy expert and law lecturer at GIMPA. Also on the line is Richard Roxon, who's the spokesperson and head of communications at the Energy Ministry. We also have George Kwame Abwaji, ranking member on the Energy Committee. Gentlemen, glad you could join us this evening. Richard, let me begin with you. You've heard the concerns from both the minority and the TUC. Is this something that the Energy Ministry will consider suspending?
Let me say good evening to you. Good evening to my little friend Lom. And good evening to Honorable George as well. First, let me try and segregate the issues into two so that we can have some clarity. I will start with the press conference of the minority. If I heard Honorable right, one of the fundamental points he makes is that this decision is as a result of failed leadership and poor policy choices. And I find that very interesting. In the first place, this increment is what we call MITO. This is a major tariff review. This is done every 3 to 5 years. The last time that this was done was in 2022, to be specific, September 2022. And the increment was 27%, over 27% by the PURC. This time, the PURC says that it's doing about 9%. And it's given cogent reasons for this increase. If you look at why you see a major tariff review, a major tariff review addresses the capital and the investment needs of facilities. You're looking at large-scale infrastructure development, you're looking at expansion, you're looking at their capital expenditure, and then the investment, their asset base. Those are the factors that go into a review of major tariff, which is done every 3 years. The next one will be 2030. Okay. And so for government, one, the PURC's decisions or the engagement we followed, they engaged a lot of stakeholders. I'm sure Honorable will confirm that they were before the Energy Committee of Parliament. They were on several platforms. They engaged TUC as well. And so they had a comprehensive consultative process. On leadership and policy process, this administration inherited a very difficult energy sector, precisely the power sector. We met a debt of about $1.7 billion to IPPs alone. Cost to ECD when it comes to utilities, you're looking at about over 80 billion Ghana cedi.
Okay.
Beyond that, you had a number of debts owed. You had suppliers that had not been paid. As we speak, every now and then, ECD will tell you that you have suppliers coming to them because the government owes. What this administration has done is to engage in what I describe as structural reforms to deal with some of the challenges that we met. Today, that 80 billion that we met is around 60 billion. That decision is a result of leadership. Today, the cash waterfall mechanism, which was recording a revenue of 900 million, today declares a revenue of averagely 1.6, 1.7 billion Ghana cedis. And that money goes straight to the utilities. You know what we saw in the past where you had the management and the declaring revenues that come in because the revenues are used for other purposes that are not fruitful. Today, you have ECG that for 3 years has spent averagely about 9 billion each year when they had a budget of about 2 billion. So you're looking about a budget of about 30 billion. A budget of about 6 billion. They had an expenditure of about 30 billion. This year, the current ECG administration has spent just about 1.2 billion on procurement, and they've rather procured material goods that the ECG needs. And so if we are talking about policy reforms, I'm not sure that the best group that will propose or will criticize the administration will be the minority. Because their track record is there for everyone to see.
Richmond Roxon, thank you very much. That's the spokesperson and head of communications at the Energy Ministry. Let me bring in George Kwame Abuaje in at this point. He's the ranking member on the Energy Committee, and he was at that particular press conference earlier today. George, thank you for your time once again. Your side was part of the committee who were consulted on this, I want to believe. Why didn't you object to this at the consultation stage?
Thank you, my brother, and good evening to your listeners. First of all, yes, we were at the stakeholders consultation. My leader also present as Osai. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you very loud and clear.
Yeah, very thank you. My leader Osai also was present, as well as majority leader also was present. And Osai also informed them that the minority will accept this increase. Not that we did not object at that particular moment. We do. And then we thought maybe after the consultation, whatever the findings may be, they will meet, PPRC will come and meet the committee to explain to us. Because when we went for the consultation, stakeholders consultation, what they said that we power, ECG, VRA, and other agencies, they are demanding around, I can't remember, but some outrageous percentage in terms of what their side of the tariffs. So we thought that after everything, they will come back and meet us. Fine. We just heard it last week that we have to, they have increased the tax to 9 point something. If I heard my friend, the spokesperson right, this is not the time to play blame game. If we are to play blame game, Ghanaians will suffer. Every Ghanaian knows why we have this on our neck. So please, I'm advising you, don't blame. Let's find solution to the problem. That is what is important.
Right, George Kwame Abuaje, thank you very much. That's the ranking member on the Energy Committee. Pearl, who else do we have?
We also have energy analyst and law lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, Lom Nuku Ahlija. Good evening and thank you for your time on Newsnight. Well, we had government saying that this increment is needed to improve the energy sector. You also have the labor union, that's the TUC, crying over the erosion of their base pay. Now, what do you think should be the most viable option for government right now?
Well, first of all, the PRC is an independent commission which has a mandate to determine tariffs based on factors. I think the two previous speakers have alluded to the fact that proposals were made by utilities, stakeholder engagements were done, and at the end of the process, the PRC has decided, based on its consideration of all the various factors that it needs to consider determining the tariff, to come up with what we have today. Now, as you can imagine, it doesn't, whichever tariff that is the PRC determines will affect one side or the other. The main question for us to answer is whether in determining that tariff, the PRC has considered what needs to be considered. And in this case, we are looking at the cost of fuel, we are looking at inflation, we are looking at the exchange rate, we are looking at the requisite investments that the utilities need in order to keep the lights on. The truth is that if tariffs are not part of the conversation in finding viable solutions to the energy sector, it's possible that months or years down the line, we might not have sustainable power. So for me, looking at this question, we should be focusing on what is required to keep the energy sector viable. And what the PRC has done is consistent with their mandate. And of course, to ensure that the utilities have what they need to invest in future projects, at the same time to take into consideration the needs or concerns of the various stakeholders, which I think has been done in this case, because as you recall, the utilities made proposals seeking tariff increments in certain respects in excess over 200%. And what the PRC has approved and published, at least for electricity, is a little under 10%.
Way below what they requested for.
Exactly, which means that PRC's mandate, as they have exercised it, is to balance the various interests, including what the minority is saying, what organized labor is saying, the various groups. And so, at this point in time, to look at it objectively, we have to consider what the PRC has to go through to determine it. Once the call is of government to suspend and so on, that will now also start going to another round of interference with the independence of the PRC.
Okay.
Of course, you know that the organized and the user array obviously want conditions for the budget for negotiations. But as soon as if you look at everything that has happened in the last couple of months, going through that consultation process, the balance which the PRC has been able to strike.
Mr. Lom Nuku Ahlija, and he's an energy analyst and a law lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
And in other stories tonight, ace journalist, investigative journalist Manasseh Azure Awuni has refused to return to the witness box in the revived corruption case against former PPA CEO A.B. Ajay. The case, which began in 2021 with Manasseh as the star witness, saw the OSP drop all charges after nearly a year of his testimony and 2 years of litigation. Well, prosecutors claimed the withdrawal was to allow fresh investigations and strengthen the case, but a year later, and now that the matter has been refiled, Manasseh says he will not testify again. He spoke on the Joy Super Morning Show, explaining into details why he will not be mounting the witness box for the OSP.
And the case eventually went to court in 2022, June. In November, I was approached, and then by December, I was in the witness box. I testified, and I was cross-examined by two sets of lawyers. One set for ABAJ, another for his brother-in-law. So from 2022 December to 2024 April, I finished my cross-examination. At the time I was leaving the court, I was told that the next person to be called to testify for the OSP would be the Shraj investigator, because Shraj had also transferred his report and also documents to the OSP. So the investigator who worked on that was supposed to testify. Then, shortly after that, the OSP dropped the charges against ABAJ and his brother and filed what we were told at the time to be fresh charges against ABAJ. And what this means is that all the trial that has happened within the 2 years that the case was in court would be in vain. So we're going to start everything afresh. That starting point came in October this year when I received a letter from the OSP notifying me of the next court date. That's on the 20th of October. Having spent a year and a half in the dock, I wanted to have a good reason to subject myself to all the time I had spent in court, all the resources driving in and out. I bore them alone. So I called for the old charge sheet and the new charge sheet. When they gave it to me and I went through, I realized that all the charges in the so-called fresh charge sheet were contained in the old charge sheet. There wasn't a single new charge. Not even the particulars of the offense changed. Only some charges against ABAJ were dropped, and then the one charge against his brother-in-law was dropped. So the question is, why did they not amend the charge sheets if they wanted to drop some of them?
Well, Manasseh also argues that the OSP has failed to address key concerns and, more critically, has dropped what he considers the most weighty and substantive charge in the entire case.
When I spoke to the lawyer handling the case, she said no new funds were uncovered. Did you trace ABAJ's assets as you've done in other cases? She said no. An attempt was made to do that, but it was abandoned because that wasn't the focus of the case. And I experienced within the period that there wasn't so much seriousness in prosecuting the case. For instance, the contracts for sale documentary was admitted by the court in evidence. And the OSP was supposed to submit a pen drive because they had asked for the documentary and the raw recordings, interviews I did. When they submitted that pen drive to the court, the documentary was not in it. So it was uncovered or discovered much later in the case. And they filed again to get the court to admit it. Of course, ABAJ's lawyers opposed it, but the court ruled in favor of the OSP, admitted the documentary, and I was called back. I had finished my cross-examination, but I was called back to be cross-examined on that. And after that, they discontinued the case. When they refiled again, there was a strong charge that was missing. If you read the Shraj report, you would find out that they said at a point, ABAJ altered the PPA board's decision to have a contract awarded in favor of a company, and that company turned out to be his company. In the old charge sheet, this was on count 18, under directly and indirectly influencing the procurement process.
Let's go into the telephone lines right now and speak to Edem Senade, who is an anti-corruption campaigner. Edem, thank you for your time this evening. Is Manasseh justified in his refusal to mount the witness box once again for the OSP, you'd say? Do we have Edem Senade on the line? Hello, Adam.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes, I was
Sorry.
trying to find out from you if you feel that investigative journalist Manasseh Azuri, listening to the clarification and explanation he's been given, he's justified for refusing to mount the witness box once again for the OSP.
I think that he has a good reason at a personal level to say, listen, I did this for 1.5 years. It took a lot of toll on me. I can't see my way continuing to do this. I think it's fair for him to feel that way and to take that decision. As I've listened to both parties, I find that the space is one where sometimes, because the prosecuting bodies have certain trade-offs they do in respect of criminal cases, or because of the authentication of documents, the kind of evidence that the courts require, at the end of the day, what they need to do to get a case ruled in their favor sometimes will not follow the logic that as a journalist or somebody as a development practitioner like myself, I would follow. And so, especially the ABAJ case, my follow-ups, what it seems to be the case was that the court was demanding authentic documents. So if you have photocopies, that's not acceptable. If you didn't have anything that actually showed that this person wrote it, or it is through a financial transcript of some transfers, they were not willing to take that. And so the case had to be reshaped, I think, from the prosecution end, for them to be sure that they were going to get a ruling. Don't forget, OSP had a lot of cases it lost initially. So it looks like the team there is much more concerned about what do we need to do to make sure we don't go and lose cases. So I'm not surprised that Manasseh will take that. I don't think we should begrudge him that. I think it's a space where probably all of us need much more education on how some of these things are done.
And Mr. Senana, just a quick one. This spell, how much of an impact do you think Manasseh's decision to, not to return to the witness box will have on this case?
I think that the follow-up days and events will tell us. We can't tell. What they tell me, they've expanded the pool of witnesses. I think they started with just 1 or 2. Now they said they have 5. And they've had to try and get other documentation which they think will be much more convincing and compelling for the court. So I think that honestly, if Manasseh was still in it, that would give you the best foot forward. But whether without him they can still win, especially when the prosecutor here, the director of prosecution there, was not too sure with the initial documentation that they were going to get through. Let's see whether their strategy works out ultimately.
Adam Senanu, thank you very much. He's an anti-corruption campaigner, and that brings us to business, and George Wiafe is here with the latest. George, what do you have for us in the world of business?
Well, coming up in business, President John Mahama targets Chinese investors to help with value addition of the country's exports. And we'll be telling you more about a $200 million World Bank issued bond help to finance clean cooking in Ghana. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your offers, essential Sinter's tanks and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal.
Je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle.
Mappé. Et Mappé. French idea. This is midi croissant.
Meet Jan. She makes sobolo in a small shop in Kaswa. She's going places with MTN Ejumapa. Now, she's learning French kakra to teach her francophone customers indigenous recipes.
Watashi no namae wa? Watashi no namae. Boy.
Whoa. She's learning Japanese too? Watashi. What? If you're a woman with a small business, join MTN Ejumapa today by dialing *5060# and enjoy 150 megabytes data, a lifestyle bundle for social media, free MTN to MTN calls every Monday, and an insurance cover. You will also gain access to expert training, discounts on digital tools, and financial support to grow the business of your dreams. Terms and conditions apply. MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office,
Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Temania Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
At Star Oil, we believe fuel is not just a commodity, it is a lifeline. Every cedi saved at the pump is a cedi that helps a mother send her child to school. A farmer transports food to the market, or a young entrepreneur deliver their first order. Our mission is to make fuel more accessible by offering consistently competitive prices, helping ease the financial burden on Ghanaian households. In a country where transportation costs can consume nearly a third of household income, this is not just business. It's a social responsibility. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
For many years, we've been solving Ghana's water storage problems with quality tanks. Sintex tank,
You know, it is strong, it's tough, and reliable. And now, we are in to solve the #1 problem when it comes to water carriage: our pipes. With the state-of-the-art machinery, Syntex is providing very strong, tough, reliable, high quality, and durable pipes at a reasonable price. This is Syntex Pipes. With Syntex Pipes, water flows wow. I mean, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. If they carry water, no wahala. With Syntex Pipe, our water problems are solved. Syntex, are you strong? Are you tough?
Brushing gets more fun with your kids with the new Pepsodent Kids toothpaste. Give your smiles protection that lasts. Grab yours today from a store near you. This advert is FDA approved.
This year is going to be sweet. I don't just feel it, I know it, because the Luckiest Season 3 is back.
And I'm about to show you how to grab your golden ticket. Just dial *712# and follow the prompts to purchase your ticket. Or go to theluckiestafrica.com, hit community tickets, and pick your lucky number.
Or let the system do its magic. Choose how much you want to spend from 1 to 5,000 Ghana cedis. You can even buy a ticket for someone else. Be someone's hero. Payment? Easy. Mobile money in Ghana or card if you're international.
One ticket can turn 1 CD into 500 times more. That's maths we love. Or your community could win 10 times more. So let's get lucky together because luck is everywhere.
Every mosquito study run away.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to Business on News Night. Now, President John Mahama has revealed that government is targeting some Chinese investors to help the country when it comes to value addition to its exports. The president disclosed this in an interview with Chinese news network CGTN.
China has offered Africa a zero tariff policy. Ghana has started negotiations with China, and so that negotiation is taking place. We can sign off as the second country for zero tariffs with China. Actually, China is Ghana's biggest trading partner, and trade between Ghana and China has continued to grow exponentially. The zero tariff policy is now kicking in, and so I believe that it will create a conducive atmosphere for us to grow that trade even more. We're looking on the Ghanaian side for Chinese industries to come and help us add value to the products that we have so that we can export back into the Chinese market. Apart from that, there's the important issue of harmonization of standards. China has about 40 standards, and so we need to harmonize our standards with the Chinese standards so that it makes it easier for us to export into the Chinese market. So those are the areas we're ironing out, and I think that we can reach understanding as long as the relationship between us is what it is.
President John Mahama. Now, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has maintained that it will still press ahead with the quarterly review of tariffs from next year. We have more in the following report.
The Public Utility Regulatory Commission last week announced it has approved the increase in the utility tariff starting January 1, 2026. This was part of the multi-year tariff review. Electricity tariff are set to be increased by more than 9%, while water go up by 15.92%. But for some consumers, this should have been the end when it comes to tariff review for next year. But the Commission in that same public statement argued it will still go ahead with its quarterly review from next year, despite the multi-year tariff adjustment. So if dynamics like inflation rate, exchange rate, and cost of power generation does not improve, consumers should brace themselves for some significant increase in utility tariff starting January 1, 2026.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, the World Bank has issued a $200 million bond to help finance clean cooking initiatives in Ghana and other countries, as well as other green initiatives. The World Bank papers, which was issued today, will mature in 2032. The bond is targeting investors across the world and will be led by Standard Chartered Bank, acting as lead arrangers for the offer. It will be listed on the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. Now, a former General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, Edward Kadaway, has stated that the current food glut should not be linked to high level of production by farmers. He rather says that high imports, cedis appreciation, and smuggling has contributed to the current challenge that the country is dealing with.
Was expected, and is also because whilst government may not have appreciated how quickly the challenge will arrive, when the cedi became strong, then it then became cheaper, as the minister said, and all of us know, that to import than to produce. Now, what government ought to have done, probably, is to curtail importation. But if we still stick to the laissez-faire policy approach, where allowed to continue the way they want, they would import more, and then that can have a problem with your domestic producers. That is mainly one of them. The other thing has to do with smuggling into this country. There's so much smuggling of rice and...
That's the former General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, Edward Kadaway. And that's all for Business on Newsnight. Back to you, Kenneth.
Thank you very much, George, for bringing us the latest in business. It's now time for sports, and Daniel is here with the latest. Dan, what do you have?
Yeah, Black Stars assistant coach John Pinsel, he has backed the team to progress from the group stages at the 2026 FIFA World Cup in USA, Canada, and Mexico. Ghana have been drawn in Group L against England, Croatia, and Panama with their opening game against the CONCACAF nation.
I'm very, very impressed, especially with this group. It's a group somebody will say, oh, this is easy group, but it's not easy group. It's a very, very tricky group. That one must be very, very careful with that. I respect all the teams that we find in our group. It's the teams that can bring the best out of us. So I'm very, very pleased. I'm very confident with all our support, the supporters, they believe in everything, the players. We have to keep praying for our players, for them to be ready, be fit. So when it's time for call-up, everyone can be present. Because from now to the World Cup, it's going to be a long season. The players are still playing their teams in Europe. So we have to pray that no injuries will come to our players.
That was Black Stars assistant coach John Pinsel speaking there now. Mohamed Salah has been left out of the squad for Liverpool's Champions League game against Inter Milan tomorrow. The club have decided to remove Salah from selection for a short period after he gave an explosive interview on Saturday claiming that he was thrown under the bus by Liverpool and his relationship with head coach Arne Slot had broken down. The club is said to be in full support of the manager, and that it's the best interest of all parties involved that Salah have a brief period away from the team. It is understood that there will be no formal disciplinary action taken by the club, and that's all for sports. Back to you guys.
Daniel, don't go yet. This reminds me of Cristiano Ronaldo's last days at Manchester United when he gave that Piers Morgan explosive interview. Do you see something like that happening?
Yeah, very strong similarities, and especially the fact that both managers in question at the time, Ten Hag, Dutch manager, Arne Slot, Dutch manager.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Daniel. Well, let's bring you more stories this evening because tensions are rising in Mankessim as residents accuse Parliament of dragging its feet on the Ewoya lithium project. The residents say they will hold massive demonstrations if the delay continues. Traditional leaders are struggling to hold tensions down, appealing to President Mahama to fulfill his campaign promise and ensure the lease is ratified. Emmanuel Jivenu has more in today's episode of Hope on Pause, the Lithium Promise.
The delay leaves families unsure of what comes next, and many are turning the frustration towards traditional leaders who asked them to cooperate 2 years ago.
The lithium company says they are ready to start once the ratification is given. So now it is Parliament that is delaying us. They are starving us. If they are not careful, we will demonstrate against them.
Paramount Chief of the Nkusukum traditional area, Nana Okesi Isando IX, says he is now managing rising agitations almost every week.
This led to so many agitations, which could have led to demonstrations and anarchies. As I sit here, I tried my possible best as on my hand to avert most of them.
Honestly, if our chiefs allow me, I will go straight to the president and tell him what we are going through. Do they want all of us to die before they ratify the lithium lease?
During the 2024 general election campaign, many residents say they listened carefully when the then candidate, John Dramani Mahama, visited the Central Regional House of Chiefs and promised swift attention to the lithium mining lease. If elected, Osajefo Amanfo Edu VI is the paramount chief of Mankessim traditional area.
I was so happy about the answer you give. The first part was that...
Why do they call us the minority? We don't have the numbers. They are more. There are 138 of them. If they want to pass it, they'll pass it because they have the numbers.
The turntable has turned. Your party, NDC, is in power. You made me hear for the first time the word stranded assets, Your Excellency.
The better we mine it as quickly as possible and take advantage of it. Otherwise, if time passes by, we have what we call stranded assets. You have an asset, but it's stranded. There's no longer any need for it. This is a national cause. And Nana, me and you are on the same wavelength. We'll work together to make sure that this thing goes forward.
So the aspect of the majority and the aspect of the stranded assets, they've all turned in your favor. Do something now.
For now, chiefs will continue to ask residents to remain patient, but they admit the pressure is rising. And without parliamentary action, the possibility of demonstrations and civil unrest will become harder to prevent. Emmanuel Jivanu, Joy News, Central Region.
Now, Ghana has deployed troops to Benin as part of an emergency ECOWAS security activation following an attempted coup in the country. Now, the Economic Community of West African States, that ECOWAS, reactivated its security protocol on Sunday, with Ghana among the first countries to move personnel as part of the regional rapid response mechanism. This swift action comes amid heightened concerns about regional stability following the attempted coup in Benin, where a group of soldiers led by Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigri announced on state television that they had removed President Patrice Talon and suspended the constitution.
However, the coup attempt was thwarted by loyalist forces with support from Nigerian forces. ECOWAS has condemned the attempted coup, describing it as unconstitutional and a subversion of the will of the Beninois people. Well, the regional bloc has deployed troops from Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast and Ghana to support Benin's government and maintain constitutional order. So that's the delicate situation that is currently happening in neighboring Benin. Let's get onto the telephone lines right now and speak to John in Team Kojo with the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament to pick his thoughts on this. Glad you could join us this evening. This coup, attempted coup, we should say, that was thwaffed yesterday. What do you make of it? And really, there are concerns about Ghana's deployment of troops there. Is that even necessary? Do we have him on the line? Well, we're still trying to connect with Reverend in Team Kojo there. But the story is that just yesterday we had indication, Pearl, that there was an attempted coup. Earlier in the day, we saw a group of military officers, armed military officers,
on television.
On national television in Benin, saying that they had taken over the country. But a few hours later, the Interior Minister of Benin came out to say that that is not true, and that we're getting reports that loyalists to the Beninois president thwaffed that particular coup, which was foiled. And we understand that there was deployment of troops from Nigeria. Nigeria indicated yesterday that they had sent troops who are monitoring the airspace of Benin. And of course, the Nigerian President Bola Tinubu did indicate that they did that to protect democracy, and we're getting a lot of condemnation from the West African bloc, who are condemning the raft of coups that have happened on the original bloc, and the latest coming from Benin. So that's the latest that we have from Benin. We're trying to get in touch with John in Team Kojo with the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament right now, but we've been unsuccessful. But since we're not getting him, let's get
a few of the comments.
Exactly.
And this one from Kwesi in Kaswa says, what sort of inequality is this? How do you increase the base pay at 9% and then increase utilities at 9.5% and 15%? This is weakness, and it's from Kwesi in Kaswa. Kenneth, we understand we have Kenneth Festus Abuaji on the line. Kenneth Festus Abuaji, good evening. Thank you for your time on Newsnight.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening. I'm Dr. Festus Oben.
Thank you very much for that correction, Dr. Festus Oben. Thank you so much for your time on Newsnight. Now, from a defense standpoint, what does this attempted coup mean for Ghana's long-term security strategy?
Please come again.
Dr. Festus, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I'm just asking that from a defense standpoint, what does this attempted coup mean for Ghana's long-term security strategy, and why really are the coups, takeovers resurfacing across the region?
Well, it demonstrates the fragility of democracy within the sub-region. And if you look at all the coups that have happened over the past 5 years, you see common issues being cited by these coup plotters. One is the issue of governance. There are issues of development. There are also issues of security. And if you look at Ghana, we are not immune from some of these challenges of governance and also security. And so what it means is that we need to also begin to look at some of these issues very seriously and deal with them in order not to fall into the situation that some of these countries are in at the moment.
Dr. Festus Oben is a security analyst. Thank you so much for speaking to us on Newsnight.
And that's how we wrap up the bulletin for this evening. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Pearl Ofori.
Have a good evening.